got a couple of lights that we use. These are kind of the most basic ones that we have in our stock at the moment, but they are the kind of main toolbox for lighting. So we're going to start with a Parcan. This is a light. It is basically a lamp in a can. It is very simple. You can change the shape of the light by the type of lamp it is. The lamp usually has a safe bit at the back, so you can grab it and you can twist the lamp. So this one gives you a bit of beam shape, so you can have a linear light from the light, or you can have a horizontal shape, or you can even have it diagonal, whatever you're trying to focus the light on. So you can create washes with these, or a line of a bunch of them together, or if you just want a little pathway to go down, you can do that. It also goes up and down and just moves, and that's all it does. But they're lovely and effective. However, they're very bright. They have a lovely hot spot, and they've been used for years and years and years. So if you see all of the old kind of 70s rock setups, they'll have like hundreds and hundreds of Parcans, all in different patterns and things. And yeah, they look great in haze. And then we have a Fresnel. This is a kind of wash light. It has a kind of step lens on the front of it, which is actually comes from lighthouses. This is a wash light. What you can do with this is you can flood it out, so it can go quite wide and quite smooth. And then you can make a nice little tight hot beam as well. So sometimes if you're focusing little washes, you might want to kind of flood it out halfway and then just box in the beam a little bit to give it a little bit of shape. And sometimes you just want to box in the flare just to make it look a bit tidy. But yeah, this is, again, it will tilt and pan, and that's pretty much all that a Fresnel does. The next light is a Source 4. It's slightly more of a profile. By profile, I mean you can make a kind of sharp beam with this light, and you can move the lens on the front of the light to sharpen it and defocus it. These lights can have a much harder edged beam. This one happens to have a 50-degree lens in it, and you can move the lens to soften it and sharpen it. The lens can't be any smaller, and if you want it to be a smaller lens, you then change it to a 36 degree or a 26 degree or a 19 degree. So the lower the degree, the narrower the light output will be. But also it will concentrate the light a bit more, so the narrower it is, the brighter the actual beam will be. So these also have shutters, so you can make shapes with the light, and then you can, because the shutter's on a slightly different plane, you need to then adjust your lens to sharpen to the shutter. So at the moment, the shutters are sharpened to what we call the blue side, but you can also go through to the other side, which would be that's the brown side. So somebody might say to you, shutter to the blue or the brown, and it's just moving it to what actual edge of the shutter they prefer. Again, you can soften the shape, so you can make a little square and make that sharp. And we can also put the gobos into it. So this just goes between the light and the lens, maybe. Sort of. And then you can sharpen to the gobo as well, and you can go brown or blue again within that. And then, yeah, you can go to a kind of brown, sharp, soft as well, or you can go soft the other way. And so yeah, you can also shutter in on this and make a little corridor of leaves if you want to. And we'll open up the iris. Yeah. There we got the iris, and again we can sharpen it up if we want to, and then we can just bring that circle in. So you're no longer relying on shutters to make the beam smaller, you're getting a nice tight circle up until there. Because this is quite a wide lens, it's not as tight a circle as you could possibly get. But yeah, so this is a gobo. It is a bit of metal with some kind of little cutouts of empty space. So you put this in the light, and then it will make a pattern wherever you shine the light onto. So what this one is a kind of leafy breakup, as we call it. So if you have a lot of these, it'll create texture on the stage. You can get kind of ones that are just lines or crisscrosses or even images. If you want to just project an image, say you could do like a New York fire escape image or something like that. You could project that on the back and you're like, oh, we're in New York all of a sudden. Yeah, so that's a gobo. And we've got an iris. So this iris is in and out, kind of like a James Bond kind of thing. This is useful for if you need just a very tiny little circle of light, but you have a light that can't get down to that and you want it like a little circle instead of shutters. It's quite good for mirror balls. You know, you can focus in on them and then just get a nice little circular beam. And then we have gel. Yes, so this is a gel frame. This goes in a Source 4. This is some straw gel. A lot of the younger folk these days don't really know what gel is because they're just using color pickers, but it's still here. It's all categorized by numbers, and you can get swatch books with all the different varieties of gel, and yeah, some of them even have little stories behind them, and they've got some funny names. But yeah, it's basically a filter you put in front of the light. So the light is a white light, and this is filtering out all the other color except blue for this one. So it's just letting the blue color through, and this is letting the straw color through. And then obviously you can mix these colors together and yeah, create nice different effects. So this is a Source 4 Mini. It's a smaller version of the last profile I looked at. This one is a zoom, so you can make it larger and smaller. Whichever other light, you have the fixed lens. So you can focus in on that, so I can make it larger again, but then sharpen it again. So this has, yeah, 2 lenses inside that you have control over it instead of the one. And this is also, this one happens to be a 575 watt lamp. So it's a little bit dimmer, but they're very light and they give a good output. Moving on from the tungsten lights, these days we are using a lot more LED, and we also use a lot of discharge, but even that's going out the window. Discharge is like an arc light that stays on all the time, and then the lights will use a shutter in front of it to dim it. So a lot of moving lights are discharge. But yeah, everything's moving to LED at the moment, which means that you don't have to have a light that's constantly on. It's nice and cool. You can get, depending on the light, you can get a mixture of colors out of them. The color aspect of LED, being able to change RGB, W. So RGB, W is red, green, blue, white, which are the additive colors of LED. These are literally the emitters going, there's a bit of red mixing with a bit of blue. So this gives the designer lots of options color-wise. They can have any color they want at any time. You don't have to change the gel, you don't have a scroller, which is the thing where we used to load with different gels, and that would move it across the light. You can just get a little color picker, which is just like a little rainbow on the screen, and you're like, I want that color, and then that will be on stage. Which is why, of course, the gels are being used much less these days. So we also use moving lights a lot more. So we have moving profiles and moving washes. So the washes are pretty much just a kind of a beam that you can zoom in and out, and it's a soft beam. And then the profiles are ones you can get the hard edge, or you can put a diffuser in front of it and make it a softer edge. You can do shapes, you can do shutters again, you can zoom them in and out as well. You can change the edge of it and the focus. You can put a gobo in there. You can get rotating gobos. Yeah, and you can make them do kind of effects and all kinds of things. This is another pixel neon. This is LED inside here. And then there's each one of the little LEDs is controlled by separately. And then each one can change color. So you can do lots of little zoomy effects across there and change colors and send like one color down. And yeah, so we have these in 1/2 meter and meter sizes. It just gives you a lot more options. You can use it as just a strip of light. You can use it as little effects on the strip of light. So you could do a little sparkle effect, or you can move like a rainbow all the way across. You can do loads with them. We've got this. This is a sconce from Dracula. This was 3D printed. So this main body of this is 3D printed. And then inside there's a battery and what we call an RC4, which is a wireless dimmer. And then we've got a 12-volt lamp on top, and that is covered in silicone for safety. And yeah, as you can see, it's not wired to anything, but I can control it. And I could send a little flicker through it if I wanted to. Yeah, they were quite effective for Dracula. It meant they could creep around doing spooky things. And then we've got this, which we've recently made. This was for a show called Thank You Next, working in a school, and there was a lightsaber fight scene. So we've made many lightsabers in different colors. This again is 3D printed. There's a battery in there and just a button that turns it on, which you might be able to see in this light. But yeah, inside there's some LED strip that we've just reclaimed from leftover bits of tape. Made use of that to make different color lightsabers. So with moving to LED, a lot of it is included in our mission to work more sustainably. There's a bit of a trade-off, obviously, with tungsten lights. If they're off, they're off. With LEDs, they're on all the time. It's debatable whether it is actually more sustainable, but in the long run, LEDs are about at least a quarter of the output that as the tungsten lights. It's a toss-up of whether you want to get rid of a thing that already exists, replace it with an LED that obviously has lots of parts within it and mined materials and all of that goes along with it, or whether it's good to use a tungsten light at 20% for a show. However, if you're going to be using these lights long-term, LED, you don't have to change the lamps. They last a really long time, and they are really low wattage when you're running them. So.